Hello, and welcome to Tyler with the K. We are going to talk about my favorite books of 2024. I have a list of 10. We've stalled long enough. But just so you know, this is going to be one take, so that's fun. For you, hopefully. Not so much for me. I actually already started filming this, and then I had to stop because I just wanted to stop it. Anyways, 10 books. We have like a lower top 5 and a top 5, but they're all good. I don't know, I feel like this year I wasn't necessarily like extremely blown away by any book. But I didn't really struggle to find these top 10. So there are books that I seriously enjoyed this year. But I don't know. I don't think I found like a new forever favorite. I guess besides I'm looking at this top book, maybe. You'll have to keep watching to find what it is. Okay, as I already said, I've stopped talking enough. We're going to start off with my 10th favorite book of 2024. Children of Anguish and Anarchy by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the third book in the Children of Blood and Bone trilogy. Children of Blood and Bone is on my favorite book list of all time. I wrote down notes, so let me see what I wrote. It was just very highly anticipated for me. I've been waiting for this book for a while. I think she said that this book was actually going to come out last year, and it came out this year. And I ordered it on Barnes & Noble. I reread the first 2 books, and then I read this. I'm glad this book exists more than anything. Similar to another book that I'll talk about later, and also there's like increased representation, which is cool. But yeah, do I remember 2 things that happened in this? No. But I'm happy this book is out now. I don't know, will I reread it? Maybe not. But I'm happy, yeah. I'm happy, I said this already. I'm happy that this book exists, even if it's not my favorite piece of literature. Yeah, I'd say the first book is my favorite in the series, then the third book, then the second. But you didn't ask. Okay. Then the next book here. Oh, I don't have the physical book, and I'm not editing this. I'm sorry, but you'll have to imagine it. You can search it up. Lesson in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This is a more recent read. I read this in December, but it is still December. And it's the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year for 2022. I just heard good things. It literally won Book of the Year, so I decided to give it a chance. I finally got it. Got the audiobook on Libby, and I read it. I really appreciate this book for its humor. It's really funny. It also has like feminist themes, which I appreciate, and the main character is just one in a million. I really love her as a character. I was trying to find this book in Barnes & Noble, and I literally was looking for the character's last name instead of the author's, just because she made that much of an impact on me, I guess. It's a great novel. I definitely recommend it. It's a little long, but it's worth it. These characters, at least the main character, I think will stick with me. I'm really excited to read any of the author's other books. She hasn't released one yet, but I'm waiting. I can't wait. I started the TV show on Apple TV. Did not get past the 2nd episode. I don't know, I don't really have an interest. I mentioned this in a video that isn't out yet, where I talk about the books that I read in my fall semester, which I hadn't talked about in another video. And I've said that while I was reading, I was enjoying it, but I haven't really thought about it that much since. So that's why it's on the lower end. But the experience was good while I was in it. It's just like, it's one of the rare books that takes place in the span of a long time that I don't mind. And yeah, I don't know, I really like it. I really like it. The next book here is another book I don't have. It's called The Southern Book Club's Guide of Four. Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I believe this is cited by Grady Hendrix. A booktuber recommended this to me. I can't remember which one. But I got this on audiobook, and funnily enough, I read some of it, and then the audiobook returned to Libby. And then I waited a few months. I went back on the hold list, and then I got it again, and I continued reading it, and I finished it. And I was never, like, uninterested, which is crazy, because there's, like, a big gap. There's a big gap. I could tell you the gap, but I don't have my phone, and that's the only place I have the gap written on, like the specific dates. But maybe I'll write it in the description. Anyways, this is about a housewife living somewhere in the South. I don't know what state. I can't remember. When a new neighbor comes, and something suspicious about him. You may guess by the title. But it's kind of like a book about books. At least there's someone reads books in the book, which is rare. For me, at least, the books that I read, so I love that part of it. And fun fact, my mom didn't want me to read this. I asked her to get it from the library for me, and then she opened it at the library, and she was like, no. I did wait a little bit before I started it, but sorry to that. Sorry to mommy. Okay. I love the first chapter of this. It talks about blood. That's all I remember, but like it just really drew me in. It has like a thriller tone. I feel like this would be a good movie. It's just really good, and I do want to read the author's other books. I was at Target and someone mentioned How to Sell a Haunted House and recommended it to me. I think a worker there. So I definitely want to give that a try. I think I may have it on the whole list for Libby. And yeah, it was quite good. Yeah, like, this is why, I feel like this year's a little underwhelming. Because I don't remember a lot of these books in heavy detail or slight detail. Like, I can't even tell you the main character's name. It's like Patricia, it may not be, I don't think so. I don't know. Which is bad. Okay. Next book, Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I don't have this book either. I read this during the summer. I think it only took me a day to read it. I was listening to the audiobook. This is my first Tiffany D. Jackson, and I actually read another book of hers called Weight in Blood, which I also enjoyed. And this is about a teenager that gets the opportunity to work in the music scene when a music producer takes an interest in her. It may actually be a songwriter. He may not be a producer. Yeah, it's also kind of thriller vibes. It's very tense at times, and yeah, the producer is bad news. But it's about music, which I dabble in. Love that. I think, yeah, that helps for sure. It's about the industry, and as a person that has considered being in it. Maybe not. It's all about surrounding yourself with the right people that you can trust, not like, I don't know, like setting boundaries. It's a good book. It's good. I read it in one day. I was just very enthralled with it. And I'll definitely reread it. I had a copy of it. I just don't know where that copy is. But I hope to find that, and I will probably reread it. Not like soon, but eventually. And also read a lot of other Tiffany D. Jackson books. Alright, now the next book I do have a copy of. Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Frida Ebike Iyemide. I'm trying my best. I read this author's other book called Ace of Spades twice, because I read it right before I read this book, and then also in the past. But I really like this. It's like kind of dark academia. It takes place in a boarding school, and it follows this person named Sade. And it's like a mystery, I'd say. And I just invested. I was invested, and I read it in a shortish time. I'm pretty sure, even though it's kind of long. Like, this is the font size, and it's like 300 something pages, 398. I'm gonna be honest. Sometime last week, I was going to reread my favorite books of 2024, or books that I enjoyed, to try to find like a new favorite book of all time. And I tried reading this, and I was like, maybe not, because I already know what happens, and there just hasn't been a lot of time between the last time I read it. So I think I will reread it. Just it was a little too soon, but I will definitely be reading this author's other books, their plot twists. I really recommend this one. I think a lot of people could enjoy this. Yes. Okay. So that is the last book in my lower top 5. So top 10. Now we're going to go to top 5. Next book is The Sequel by Jean Hanff Korelitz. I'm sorry, I'm thinking right now that I want to switch Where Sleeping Girls Lie into The Sequel. Because maybe. I mean, I wrote it in pencil. It can't really be reversed, and I already said the order, but if you gave me another chance, I'd probably switch those. But let me continue talking about them. This one, similar to Children of Anguish and Anarchy, I'm just glad that this book exists, because I was a big fan of the first book in the series called The Plot. I read that in my sophomore year, and then I was just thinking of rereading it sometime in August or something, and I searched it up on Libby, and it said #1 in series, and I was like, what? And I found out that the second was coming out. And on top of that, I found out that near where I lived, the author was coming to promote this book. So I went to that discussion. The very next day, I started this book. I actually made a video about it. If you'd like to see it, just let me know. I did really enjoy this, though. I was so ecstatic to be immersed in the world again, because I wasn't, I mean, I wouldn't say I was left unsatisfied with the ending of The Plot, but I'm glad more is out there. Now, I wrote down a complete and pleasant surprise. Yeah, and just like Children of Anguish and Anarchy, although I didn't love every page of it, wasn't engaged every single scene, the ending is really great, and I'm just glad that this book exists, that it's a thing. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Then we have Beartown by Fredrik Backman. This is the first book in the Beartown series. I'm actually reading the last book called The Winners currently, and I am enjoying that. This book is so good. It follows like an ensemble cast, which I don't usually like when there are too many characters. Like, usually they don't get as much, not all of them have as much page time, but Fredrik Backman is able to, in this book and honestly all of his other books, just make the readers feel like every single person is important, because they are. Like, yeah, just the way he writes them. I also recently moved, and I think it's just cool to follow this one town. Like, the town is called Beartown. As I moved away from a town, and now I get to hear about just a whole new town. It's just cool, I guess. Great audiobook narration, Maren Ireland, and the way she kind of changes her voice based on, it's all in third person, right? But like, even based on the like perspective that we're following for that little part of the chapter, or the full chapter, like she changes her voice a little to match the characters. Just one person, but it's like, it's so cool how she does that. This has great use of foreshadowing, like I've never seen before. Like subtle, well, not really subtle, but like I haven't read a book with this, with so many spoilers from the book itself, writing them. That wasn't a sentence, but I hope you understand what I mean. They just use a lot of foreshadowing, which I haven't seen like anywhere else that comes to mind, and I appreciated it. Great quotes all around. Frederick Bachman, honestly, he's like the most consistently good author I've read. I've read Anxious People by him, as well as A Man Called Ove in this series. But at this point, I'm just going to read all of them. I found out recently that The Winners, which I'm reading right now, is actually his most recent novel, which was released in 2022. But yeah, honestly, I'd be fine with Beartown being a standalone, because it's so good. It also discussed when childhood ends, like when that point is, when like your younger self dies. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this book is just about everything. Like anyone can find something to appreciate about it, and it's about hockey. I never said that I'm surprised. It's pretty cool that I can say, yeah, I liked a book that's about hockey, because that's kind of the thing that ties the town together. So yeah, a lot of hockey talk. So beware. But I do really like this. And yeah, as I said before, nothing's stopping me from reading every single one of his books, because every single one, I know I'm at least going to get some great quotes. Okay, then my third favorite book of the year is Supernova by Marissa Meyer. This is also part of a series. This is like, I feel like the first time in a while where I have 3 books. Wow, 3 part of series. 4, Children of Anguish and Anarchy, Supernova Beartown, the sequel, and Children of Anguish and Anarchy. Wow, they're all part of series. That's pretty cool. That I can't remember the last time that happening, but this is the last book in the Renegade series. I love the series. Not discovered it, but I started reading it, I think, in my junior year, and I actually took a month gap. Sorry, no, not a month, a year gap between finishing Arch Enemies and starting Supernova. It was a year, but I was still, like, as soon as I started reading, I was just immersed into the story once again. It's just really cool how that's possible, because I have definitely had that experience where I take a break from a book, whether, like, because of Libby not having a copy of it anymore, or just like losing interest, and then like when I go back in, I'm just as invested as I was going out. But this is one of the rare exceptions. This and I guess the Southern Book Club. So yeah, the characters are just cool. Like I'm never gonna forget any of their names. The audiobook reader is also really cool. She does a great job. I actually found out that one of them narrates another book that I really like, that I reread this year, called Sadie by Courtney Summers. She voices the voice of Sadie as well as Nova in this, which was cool because I recognized her voice immediately when I reread Sadie. I'm a big superhero fan, or I was. I feel like I've kind of let that part of my childhood let go. Like I've let that go a little bit. Like I'm not gonna show up for like DC movies or Marvel movies at this point. Probably in the future at least, but like this is about superheroes, but it's just about so much more. I was just really invested. It's such a good book. I remember reading like the very beginning of Renegades, the series, like in a Barnes and Noble, and like I was interested, and I never picked it up after that, even though I was interested. And then years later, I remember the very first part, like the prologue or whatever, and then I got to read on, and I've never looked back. It's one of my favorite series now, honestly. Every single book is good. The characters are memorable. It's funny. It has, like, it's just solid. It's solid. And that's why it's my third favorite book this year. Okay. Now, second favorite has to go to Tell Me How to Be by Neil Patel. This is actually the other book that I reread. I guess I didn't reread Where Sleeping Girls Lie, but this is a book I did reread a few days ago. Because I've been thinking about this book basically ever since I stopped reading it. So I had to reread it. And I think a big reason why I appreciate this book so much is that there are a lot of similarities. The main character is a songwriter just like me, has an older sibling. He has a worse relationship with his older sibling than I have with mine for sure. But their mother is selling their house, and I recently moved. These aren't really, I don't know what you consider spoilers, but okay. And they have like, I can't relate to this really, but there's like a mother-child complicated dynamic, which I recognize from Lady Bird, which is one of my favorite movies. So yes, and also another thing that I'll really remember this book for, there are like two perspectives. One is the mother, and one is her son. Let's name them Akash and Renu, and there's a U in it. Let me do an example. Let me do at the beginning of the book, something near the beginning of the book, just so I don't spoil. Let's see. Sorry. I'm not editing this, so gotta fill the silence. Okay, so I was only known as Mrs. Amin, only as Ashok's wife, only as Bijal and Akash's mother, and where I have thought, even after all these years, only of you. That's all I read. But they're just like a you, like, both of them are writing to someone else in this book, but not like through the perspective of a letter. It's just like, it's like you're telling the story to someone else, but not really. Like, I guess it's kind of in the back of their minds, this person. As I see her in the back of my mind. Sorry, that did not sound good, but Wildflower. Bye Billie Eilish. I listened to that earlier today. So that's an example from the mom's perspective. The son does the same thing, Akash, but I can't find one right now. Which is really good. It has really good quotes. There's one that I don't think I'll ever forget, which I forgot. I don't have it verbatim, but it's like, that's why I write songs, because I want to know what love is, or because I don't know what love is and I'm just trying to find it. Is this play about us? Is this play about us? So yeah, I forgot to tell you where I saw this book. It's so random how this book came into my life. Basically, I was at Target school shopping at the beginning of my senior year, and I wanted to buy a book, as one does, while school shopping, and Target had like all the books are basically always like they have a discount, so this one was 20% off. And I was considering getting Our Missing Hearts by Celeste, which I also read this year. I didn't like it that much, so but I decided to just find another random book instead, because I thought I can probably find that book at the library, but can I find this? Like, I guess I could have searched it up to see if it was at the library, but this is just a book that I had never heard of, and I just picked it up on a whim and I bought it, and I read it, and it took like 3 days or something. I just really like it. It's so good, and the author has a book called If You See Me Don't Say Hi, which are like different stories. It's a story collection, which I will be reading for sure. I recommend this book a lot. Like, even the title, it's such a great title. Definitely, I'd say the best title on this list. Quite possibly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so many quotes. I'm never gonna forget this book, I don't think, and I feel like this is gonna be a book that I'm gonna reread multiple times. Maybe it doesn't deserve to go on the favorite section, because I honestly don't really have any problems with it, and I do want a new favorite. Before we go to number one, I do want to, I don't know. I'm thinking now. I mean, I always think, but Sadie, the book that I mentioned earlier, I've read that twice, and I really did like it. I guess that is also a contender from like my favorite books of all time. But I think what's stopping me is that I don't really relate to it. Like, if someone were to ask me, why do you like this book? I'm like, because it's pretty dark. Obviously I can like what I like, but yeah. There isn't like an emotional attachment to Sadie as there is with this. So honestly, you're witnessing history here. I'm gonna move this to my favorite ever books. Because I just can't stop thinking about it. And I love it. I do love this book. So I guess 2 of these books are gonna go on my favorite ever section. Even though I don't have a copy of the other one. I'll move it after this. One thing at a time. And the other book that if I had a copy it would definitely go to my favorite ever books is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I finally read it. Like, I don't think it was ever actually on my TBR, but just a book that like I always thought, oh, I should read that, because I've heard of it and I didn't really know what it was about. And then one day in my college dorm room, I was just going on YouTube, and I found that the movie was available for free on YouTube. So I watched the movie, really liked it. Then a few months later, or I don't know the span, then I read the book. It's a beast. I mean, it's long for me. It's like 20 hours, but I literally finished that like in 3 days because I just loved it so much. Like, it makes me smile, which is weird. It's not very a bright book for sure, but I guess it was just nice seeing the movie in a new format. Like, I rarely watch the movie and then read the book. But yeah, I'm really obsessed, and I really appreciate just like how much these characters feel like real people, and just like their relationship. It's just so cool, like how you can grow. Not so cool, so interesting to read about how you can like grow to have such strong feelings with the person, about a person. I don't want to spoil. Just a great story. There's a great audiobook. Julia Whelan is one of the readers who has read a lot of the books that I've read. She reads like every single Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I know she actually read the audiobook for the sequel by Jane Helm Corlitz, which I mentioned earlier. What else? She read a book I read earlier this year called I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Makkai. Her catalog is insane. It's really cool. It's really broad. And the other reader, there are like 2 perspectives. There's Amy and Nick. And the perspective for Nick Dunn, is Kirby Hayborn, who actually read The Plots, which is the first book of the sequel series. So, like, it's cool that they work together, 2 audiobook readers that I've heard before. It's so good. So many great quotes. I will definitely reread this. And yeah, honestly, I'm trying to not impulse purchase as much going into this new year. I think what will definitely help with that is I'm only going to buy a book if I love it. I'm not going to buy it and then read it and then like feel guilty enough to keep it or just donate it and like waste my money. Like, funnily enough, I bought The Plot after reading it on audiobook, and I was fine with that decision. But like, if I had bought The Plot and not liked it, I would feel guilty, or it would be harder to decide whether or not if I were to keep it or to give it away. And I have no regrets because I bought it after enjoying it. So I'm gonna try to do that more. And I'm definitely, maybe like the next time I go to Barnes and Noble or wherever, I'll buy Gone Girl because I just love it so much. And yeah, I think it's kind of similar to Sadie in that vein, that it's dark and I don't necessarily relate to it, but I just still really, really like it. I mean, I have like a top 9 favorite books of all time, and then I have like my favorite books. Like Sadie could go on that. I think Gone Girl is definitely going on that, but it's not like the cream of the crop. I'm babbling. I'm glad I filmed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good 2024 and an even better 2025. I'm wishing the same for myself. I don't know, I may make a TikTok or another video about my most disappointing reads. I also made like an honorable mentions list for books that I liked and not necessarily loved. I would honestly not really say I love all these books. Yeah, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. But I guess really liked to love is the top 10, and then liked is the honorable mentions. And I also have books that, like, I appreciate and I would generally recommend, even though I don't have that, like, emotional attachment to them. So many books to talk about. I could honestly just make a video talking about every single book. Time will tell, I guess. But Happy New Year, because it is now 2025. Generation Veda has started. And I'm still here. I'm still here reading away. So, thanks for joining. I hope I will see you soon. Maybe in the next chapter. See you later. I'm not editing it, so I can't even put in the outro.